not right, can't be justified, it just ain't happening. It can't be, I couldn't tell you, but we actually do that. We vote on whether you can have an abortion, or whether you can smoke weed, or you can drive a car, or you can go to school, or you can have children. Hell, they had eugenics in Alberta up until 1972. They used to sterilize people if you failed an IQ test once. That's how fucked up. And that only got repealed in 1972. 35 years old. That was still going on in my lifetime. Here in Alberta, your very own home province, they used to sterilize Métis or natives or children of prostitutes. I don't know why that one, but they had this great theory that if we sterilize people from the get-go, we won't produce a nation of degenerates, right? But instead, it's obvious from the people we've elected that the people who didn't get sterilized produced a nation. Anyway, I'll finish now, but I'll take your questions. I will stay until the last person here, so I'm not going anywhere. But you can feel free to get up and go, because I can tell you talk forever, and you already know that, right? But are there any questions? By the way, I hope that was useful in some way. I get so worked out, it's hard for me to judge how you are hearing it or feeling it. But you're kicking me off. Okay.
No, I was just thinking maybe we should just take like a 15-minute intermission.
No, that's no good. I'm all worked out. Let me have some questions.
Okay, we can have some questions. But anybody else wants to go and pee and do this?
Well, I could do it.
Yeah, go ahead, and then because he'll talk forever.
Any questions? Sure. Well, we do need radical action, but the first thing we actually need is we need concerted action. You know, I'll tell you what. I know for a fact most people in this room did not vote in the last election.
I did.
Okay, yes, but most people didn't. And my point, I know, but there's my whole point too. If you're not willing to do the most simple, basic thing, then me advocating a more militarist, radical stance, it's not going to happen. Because you've got to take baby steps. You know, before I convert you into a full-fledged revolutionary activist willing to go to jail like me, I want you to vote first. I want you to send a letter to the editor. I don't want you all of a sudden going catapulting from a person who's just discovered a sense of idealism to throwing yourself in jail. You got to work up to that. You got to work up to it. You got to develop skills. You got to understand the land you're dealing with, the layout of the land, the cops you're dealing with, the judicial system. I mean, you got to go to jail for a purpose. The problem with the pot people up in the last 45 years is we're going to jail in huge numbers as victims, and nobody's going to jail as a warrior. And I don't mean you actually use violence. I mean you proudly go on principle. You stand in front of the police station and say, not one more arrest. You're just not doing it. I'm going to chain myself to the front door of the police department until you renounce the drug war. Now, of course, they're going to undo those chains and put you in jail. But you made a point. But you made a point by taking that action. You said, I'm going to suffer some form of consequence, whether a day in jail or a week in jail or a fine. I'm willing to take the personal responsibility and suffer the consequences of doing something radical, like chaining yourself to the drug squad or picketing the police department. That takes nerve because you're going to be observed and monitored after that. You picket the police department, they're watching you after that. Right? That takes nerve, that takes commitment. But I'm suggesting these are all great things. I would suggest if you were opposed to the drug war enough, and my wife will disagree with these kind of actions, you should go in the middle of a bridge and block traffic, chain yourself so they can't fucking move for 4 hours, and drop a banner over the side of the bridge saying, stop prohibition, it's killing people. Yeah, you'd make a big point, but you go to jail. That kind of militant action I can sympathize with. I'm all in favor of that. I'll commend someone. I'll come and shake your hand wherever you are as soon as you get out of jail. If I ever heard you did something as wonderful and as brilliant and as purposeful and as sacrificial and as risky as that. That's militant action I can relate to. Block traffic on a major bridge, or block the front doors of a police station, or block the police cars from getting out of the police station, or have a free weed giveaway in front of the police station, throw joints out to people, right? I mean, that's going to be tough to control that crowd, right? So that's a trafficking conviction, though. You're never going to be able to travel to the United States. So if you want to be radical and militant, I've got lots of suggestions that are peaceful, non-violent, and very much make your point, but you've got to be prepared to go to jail. You've got to be prepared to be ostracized. You might even have to leave town. Okay, those are big prices to pay. And I'd really rather you just vote first, rather than the editor, talk to your member opponent, form a little group. And then, if that doesn't work, after you say, hey, I put out, and I've done what I could for 2-3 years, and it's just not working, then you can up the ante. But I've been doing this for 20 years. And let me say that our success, yes, more people are being arrested for pot than ever before, and that is a terrible tragedy. I can't believe that I have failed to the degree that that is happening after 20 years of my work. But we did make marijuana literature legal after 7 or 8 years of being illegal. You can read High Times now, you can read my magazine, you can read Grow books, you can read anything you want about pot, and it's in the newspapers every day. We have medical marijuana at the federal level. The federal government of Stephen Harper's resisting it every step of the way. They're incredibly cynical and corrupt, and they try and thwart it, but the courts have approved federal medical marijuana for 3,000 Canadians and many more to come. We have industrialized hemp so that we have cannabis sativa stuff in cereal boxes, in balms and soaps, and we have hemp clothes in stores all across Canada. So in 20 years, we have normalized the wearing of hemp. We have normalized the eating of hemp, the putting it in shampoos and balms and medicine. We've legitimized and normalized medical marijuana, even though government tries to support it. So lots of things have been accomplished. There's been a lot of great stuff going. You know, we've achieved a lot of freedom, and like I said, it all came at the expense of government's control of us, because they resisted every step of the way. Industrial hemp was legal. We fought. People broke the law. People threatened to break the law, and it became legal. People took medical marijuana whether it was legal or not, and they refused to be intimidated. They took it to the courts, and the courts ordered the federal government to make medical marijuana legal. I went to court and we overturned the government's law that banned marijuana literature. So the government is always your enemy. Never forget that. The purpose of government is the exclusive monopoly on force, the gun to your head. No one else has it. No one else morally can have it. Government certainly has no morality to it, but that's what they are. They're a gun to your head. Anytime you don't obey the government, they can put that gun to your head and compel your behavior or send you to jail. So government is always our enemy. They have suppressed us on medical marijuana, they suppressed the hemp, they suppressed our literature, our news media, and they want to suppress our whole culture. And cannabis is a culture. Culture has two meanings, to cultivate, and to culture means to grow. And a culture is a group of human beings who share common affinities, rituals, habits, and beliefs. The cannabis culture is real. There's 170 million people on Earth who believe in the power of cannabis to improve their lives. It's one of the largest minorities in the world. There are very few groups. There are not 170 million practicing Catholics, let me tell you. There certainly aren't that many practicing anything. 170 million practicing cannabis culture members is a substantial force to be reckoned with. But since we're hunted down like dogs everywhere on Earth, many of us hide. Many of us hide. If you're growing weed, I understand you have a need to hide, but make sure you give some of that money to good causes of the people who are out there on the front lines taking the hit. Because that is your obligation. You are exploiting the prohibition by making a vast, usurious profit on your weed. I'm not going to get to. I'm a capitalist. But you have obligations. That prohibition is an evil. You're profiting on an evil policy. It's good that you're a nice, honest weed guy growing the pot, but essentially you are exploiting an evil policy designed by evil people in government that enriches crime, that causes the deterioration and disorder in our streets. It causes our young people to be sucked into a life of drug dealing crime. It causes general panic in Mexico, in parts of the United States, in many parts of the world, Venezuela, Colombia, where violence has run rampant for 20 years now, all because of illegality and the prohibition of drugs. So I would say, let's get more radical, let's get more militant when the basic stuff fails. But I went to my own store and asked my employees who voted, and a slim majority did not even